All right, today we're going to talk about topic 9.2, which is more isosceles triangle theorem. Really quickly, you don't have to write this part down. This is the part we talked about in 9.1, just exactly what the triangle theorem is. It states that if two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite are also congruent. So looking at this picture again, if you take these two sides and you draw arrows from them, you can find out which two angles are congruent, which in this case are B and C. Now that, just a quick review, we're going to go ahead and look at some examples. Example number 1. We got triangle ABC, and we see two sides are congruent, and then we know that angle C is 8x, and angle B is 6x plus 18. So we're going to do two things. We're going to find x and find angle A. We're going to find angle C and angle B. So first off, we got to find out what x is. So if we look at this triangle, we know it's an isosceles triangle. If I take this and draw my two arrows, I know that angle C is congruent to angle B. Since I know that, I can set those two things equal to each other. So that would be 8x is equal to 6x plus 18. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve. So I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. 8x minus 6x is 2x, which is equal to 18. Divide both sides by 2, and I get x is equal to 9. Now that I have what x is, found that part, I got to find out what angle C and angle B are. This is the same thing we've been doing, where we're going to take that x and plug it back in. So if we know that angle C is equal to 8x, I'm going to plug that 9 in for x. That would be 8 times 9, which is 72. Now we know that angle C and angle B are congruent, so we already know that angle B is 72. But I'm going to go ahead and do the math to show you that it works out that way. So angle B is equal to 6x plus 18. I'm going to plug in x, so that'd be 6 times 9 plus 18. 6 times 9 is 54, plus 18 is 72. So that shows you that those two things are the same. So that would be an example of how you could solve for x and then use that x to go back and find your angles. All right, now we're going to look at number 2. On number 2, we're going to find angle D. We're going to find angle E is our goal. So if we're going to find angle E, the first thing we got to do is find angle D and F. We know this is an isosceles triangle because of the markings on the sides. So starting off, we know that those two angles are equal, the angles that are opposite the sides. So that means angle D is congruent to angle F. If those two things are congruent, I can set them equal to each other, which means 5x is equal to 3x plus 14. Now, when I go through and solve for x, subtract 3x from both sides, and I get 5 minus 3, which is 2x, which is equal to 14. Divide both sides by 2, and I get x is equal to 7. So now we got our x. Well, we're not trying to find x. We're trying to find angle E. We don't know what angle E is yet. So we're going to go ahead and continue trying to figure out what that is. First, let's find out what D and F are. So angle D, we know is equal to 5x. I'm going to take that 7 and plug it in, so that'd be 5 times 7. So we know angle D is 35 degrees. We know that angle D and F are congruent because that's what the theorem tells us. So I'm not even going to do the math. I'm going to trust my math and say that angle F is also 35 degrees. Now, we know angle D and we know angle F. We have to find the third angle in a triangle. Well, we know that triangles add up to 180 degrees. So that'd be 35 and 35. So I'm going to go ahead and draw you guys another example over here just to show you what I'm talking about. We got this same triangle, DEF, and we know that this is 35, and we also know that this is 35. So if I want to find out what the third angle is, all I got to do is add those two up and subtract, because I'm trying to find out what the third angle is. I know the total has to be 180. So if I have 180 and I subtract 35 and subtract 35 more, that leaves us with 110, which would tell you what this third angle is. It's 110 degrees. So angle E is equal to 110. Now, moving on. Number 3 says ABC is an isosceles triangle with AB congruent to AC. If angle C is 68, find angle A. So all we got is a bunch of words here. So we need an isosceles triangle. That's the first thing we need. So isosceles triangle, they tell us it's ABC, and that AB is congruent to AC. So we got that. And then it tells us angle C is 68 degrees. And it wants us to find angle A. All right, so first off, I know this is an isosceles triangle, so if I draw my arrows, the first thing I know is that angle C is congruent to angle B. So angle C is 68, which means angle B also has to be 68 because those two things are congruent. So I can go ahead and write that in. All right, they weren't asking us to find angle B. They were asking us to find angle A. So this is the same kind of thing from the last problem. We got to find the third angle. So the thing I need to do is take those two things and subtract them from 180 because I know in a triangle there's 180 total degrees. So if I take 180 and I subtract 68 and I subtract 68 more, I can find the third angle. Once I do that, I get 44. So we know the third angle, or angle A, is equal to 44 degrees. Last example says triangle ABC is an isosceles triangle with AB congruent to AC. It asks us to find out what X is. So again, all we got is a bunch of words. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my triangle. It says it's an isosceles triangle, ABC, with AB congruent to AC. So it tells us C is 74 and B is 2x plus 14, and it's tasking us to find out what X is. So if I'm looking at this, we know it's an isosceles triangle, so if I draw my arrows, I know that angle C is congruent to angle B. Angle C is 74, which is equal to angle B, which is 2x plus 14. I subtract 14 from both sides. 74 minus 14 is 60, which is equal to 2x. I divide both sides by 2, and I get x is equal to 30. So there's multiple ways that you can use isosceles triangles to find angles within it. These are going to be some more complex problems. I'll see you in class.